Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Who are
Denzel
you?
So.
What's up, Kels?
What's up, man? Appreciate you coming,
Great to see
making
you
time.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
this is so cool. The setup,
yeah,
seeing you again after
yeah,
so long. It's an honor to be here, Kel.
yeah. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
It's been some years,
I think 2 years ago.
at least, right?
Yeah,
Was it
we,
during the pandemic?
we met at Fritz store.
Oh, right, yeah, at Ciclo. Was that during the pandemic?
Yeah, during the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah. It was still kind of early on,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah, we're not gonna get into the pandemic. That's a it's an oversaturated market
yeah,
right
yeah.
now. No, man. Yeah, it's been a while, but following you and
Mhm.
it's been amazing watching
Right.
your journey.
Mhm.
Like I told you, we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Your one thing that I really admire or aspire and just admire about you is the very specifically the breathing techniques and the
Right.
things that you talk about on
Mhm.
your social
Mhm.
media.
Mhm.
Um, and then we'll get into the just the whole fitness aspect because you do a lot. You do
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff,
Mhm.
and it's really good tutorial
Yeah.
stuff and some of the stuff that I followed.
Yeah.
Um, Talk about the breathing stuff. How'd you get into all of that?
Yeah. So the breathing, to be honest with you, that's the only time that I only found out about breathing was towards the latter part of it's very recent,
Mm.
to be honest. Dating back to how I started my fitness journey, I kind of felt like when I was still in high school, there was this sense of feeling kind of isolated, wanting to prove something to people. So going to college, I used fitness as a way to express myself. So I'm pretty sure you understand where I'm coming from. So I didn't use fitness as a way to, you know, maybe no, no, shredding and building muscle are just secondary for me. But the primary motivation for me as to why I got into it was, you know, being inside the four walls of my gym, playing music, Eminem, rap music
Yes.
by myself and just enjoying the process. That's pretty much it. I didn't really obsessed about my goal, which is to, lift this bunch of weights or whatever. Um, the only pleasure that I had during that time was I want to do this for myself. However, during that process, I didn't learn about all of these stuff like breathing, holistic health, mindfulness. It's only towards during these recent years that I only found out about them. And it's through these virtual mentors that I have because I didn't have a physical mentor that I have in my community. I was looking for someone that would really guide me, someone that I can look up to. I just didn't have that. So I went to YouTube, searched on the internet who those people can be in my life, and fortunately I found some people like I'm not so sure if you know Elliot Hulse, Lewis House, those kinds of people. Yeah, and so from there, that's when I learned about breathing, mindfulness, and I explored that through myself, experimented them, and tried it to myself. And um, through those years, I can personally say that there are a bunch of changes and perspective shifts in the way I see fitness. So during the first few years, it was all about just you know um, sets and reps. But in the middle of it, it was more about um, I'm using fitness as a way to inspire people, as a way for me to um, uh, present myself in a way that's uh, how would I say this? That people would respect, because a lot of times we use fitness as a way to like get validation from other people, right? But for me, it's a form of self-respect. So I don't need any validation anymore from other people, right? So for me, I'm doing this for myself. And I'm dealing with other bunch of issues also with personal life. So with that, I use breathing, mindfulness, and fitness as a way for me to like understand my situation and how I can respond to that situation even better.
Yeah.
So until now, until this day, that's still my advocacy. So when I get into a gym, I don't really obsess or like think about I need to lift this weight. If I don't get that goal, it's fine. I don't judge myself. For me, what's more important is what I'm learning throughout the process. Like I don't force anything anymore right now. I still have goals, obviously, but it's not so much about that anymore. It's about what I'm learning about myself as I pursue that particular endeavor. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing,
Mhm.
man. Exactly that. And I think a lot of times, I think it's important for people to know that there's just so many things you said in that, like the validation part.
Mhm.
It's such a common thing nowadays where you go online and you see these bodies and you see, all these things, and so
Yeah.
people are killing themselves in the gym,
Yep.
and then they get there and realize, oh, this isn't fulfilling at all, right? Or they're sick of the gym. But then guys like yourself, and which is also a big part of my journey, you realize that this thing is a actual tool, and it's less about how you look and more about how you feel.
All right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That validation part, though, that's something that I've been talking about a lot this year with people. Never really was my thing either, and I think that's the misconception with what people like outsiders seeing in my journey, because a lot of people saw the big change like in my physique over the
Mhm.
years, and a lot of times it's like I've gotten it from ex-girlfriends
Yeah.
or people that's like you thinking I'm vain or I'm doing
Right.
it to be
Mhm.
look or flex or
Yeah.
something. I'm like, no, man, you have no idea. So
Yeah.
that's why I put a post up earlier this year about the fact that I really suffered from body dysmorphia,
Mhm.
right? So even at my peak like physique,
Mhm.
aesthetic physique, I was like miserable inside. I
Yeah.
couldn't see it. I couldn't see the progress. But all I knew was every time I got in the
Mhm.
gym and every time I worked out, I felt better with all the things that I had going on in my life.
Mhm.
So, man, that's
And I think,
huge.
Kels, you can pretty say that you also use fitness as a way to like do some self introspection. So for me, when I go into a gym or just do my training, it's not just about for the sake of training, right? You're there to like just explore about yourself, understand yourself. So for me, the gym is almost like a sanctuary for me, and I'm pretty sure you also feel the same way.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's therapy. It's
Yeah.
really
Exactly.
therapy. Yeah, I realized over the years because I've done the talk therapy. I've met with therapists. I've done it online. I've done it in person, and I realized that they've been helpful to a degree, but I'm not big on talk therapy,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't have the same impact as if I go out
Right.
and exhaust myself or go out and just get active.
Mhm.
And that's another thing, like you said, it's not about, for me, it's not about the lifting, it's not
Mhm.
about how much weight or whatever. It's about being active
Yep.
and getting my body moving and breaking the stagnant
Energy.
energy.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's another,
It's a form of release.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't really fully understand that.
Yep.
you can go out and walk for 15 minutes and get the same kind of
Yeah.
like relief
Yep.
from whatever you might be
Yeah.
dealing with. A lot of times, and I don't do it enough, but I could be going through something and I'm in a rut and I'm feeling emotionally drained. But those times where I've done that, where I've went out and I just walked around the neighborhood and I came back with whether it's a new perspective on
Yep.
something or just feeling
Right.
freer.
Right.
And I think also with that freer, a lot of people think they want one thing, but really what they want is freedom.
Yeah.
Whether it's freedom from an emotional rut
Mm-hmm.
or financial freedom, it's just like the freedom is really
Mm-hmm.
the goal. And, we can find it in things that really are right there in our
Yeah.
reach.
And that's the thing with breathing. Whenever I teach breath work with other people, because a lot of times other breath work coaches, they tend to teach breathing as a form of relief. The problem there is when you teach something as a form of relief, people tend to depend on it every single day. And that's not a tool anymore. It becomes a drug or a medication, right? So the way I teach breathing is it's only a small piece of the puzzle. It's not the end all be all. So when you say like about freedom earlier, you use I teach breath work as a way to help people slow down so they can further investigate or get curious about why they ended up to their particular situation. So it's for me it's not a form of relief. There's a time and place for that. But for me, breathing is like the gateway to understanding your mind and like your situation basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Because I know for myself, I will find myself almost damn near hyperventilating,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to literally be conscious of catching my breath,
Right.
like chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not great at it. So that's why I really pinpointed what you do, because it was timely for me to
Mm-hmm.
see it. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to slow down. It's exactly that,
Yeah.
slowing my mind down.
And the number one for me, breathing is about paying attention, being aware. It's not so much about giving away protocols, different uh, breathing parameters, because each of us is different, right? One particular breathing protocol can have an inversely negative effect for other people. But basically, teaching breathing is a form of paying attention. That's why it's also hard for me to teach breathing because it's hard to quantify it. As opposed to like, just telling someone, hey, squat 5 sets of 8 reps. But breathing, it's hard to, I would say, I was saying quantify because it takes so much, um, I would say, paying attention and self awareness to get to know what are you really feeling, what's your body communicating to you, and that I think is the number one skill that is missing when we talk about health nowadays.
Yeah.
The ability to just be aware of your habits, number one, your thoughts, your language, and your actions. So yeah, so breath work is basically a form of self-awareness. It's just a teaching tool to further extrapolate or um, unpack what's inside of you so you can further improve yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not like the end all be all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's really the goal, to have a lot of tools for
Right.
the main goal,
Mm-hmm.
which is having awareness of yourself
Yep.
and knowing
Mm-hmm.
how to tap in, how to get down into your body
Yeah.
and realize what's happening when things are going bad.
Right.
Why do I feel this way?
Mm-hmm.
I find myself in that situation damn near every day where I'm like, something gets triggered. Where in the past something gets triggered, I feel how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing around that.
Yeah.
I'm pissed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now it's like, all right, wait,
Right.
what is really happening right now? Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry about this person cutting
Right.
me off, but why is this triggering me like
Exactly.
this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. It's helped me in my career a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about going back to the breathing thing, how you said there's different ways for different people. There's been I realized just from you saying that, for me there's a way that I breathe when we're in a timeout,
Mm-hmm.
when I know I need to calm myself down.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different from when I get triggered off the court somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm feeling anxious. There's that's a whole nother way that
Yeah.
I breathe. But it all still circles back to awareness,
Right.
consciousness of thought of what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's amazing.
it's a totally different game when there's a stress response, right? You can be breathing very easily when things are going smoothly, but if you're triggered, now that's when things are under fire, and that's when you're really tested. So the for me, I always teach about catching yourself. What is your body trying to tell you right now, and respond in a more effective manner. So yeah, I very agree with what you said there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. It's important, and I think
yeah,
I don't like to, but I have to like harp on the fact that of the self awareness.
hmm,
That's really that's the key.
yeah,
Understanding yourself, knowing yourself, whether it's in the gym,
right,
whether it's emotionally, psychologically, dealing with childhood
right,
traumas, whatever it is, knowing what's going on with yourself, because then that's when you can start, like you say,
yeah,
unpack
right,
certain things, and you can find relief in certain ways. And
mm,
yeah, I just really found that the breathing has been a beautiful tool for me in this past year, really, or even really being back
hmm.
in basketball in the last couple of years. Uh, what are some other like tools that have been huge for you aside from the gym, breathing? Like, what are some things that you do on a daily that you try to practice or be mindful of?
I don't do pretty much really. There's no secret, I would say. But for me, one of the most effective ways to add on these tools is walking, like what you said. Just walking 20 minutes a day, um, outside, with the sunlight. That's probably one of the most effective ways to like decompress yourself. Or uh, when the sun is up, in the morning, you go outside and just go for a walk. That's a great way to like prime yourself for the day. Because a lot of times people go like, hey, they wake up and then they grab their phones and they go straight to their day. So it becomes like a rabbit hole of just doing things over and over again, not realizing, you know, within a day there are times wherein you need to like just be by yourself, enjoy the moment, and just absorb everything. Because the problem is people, I'm not so sure if you've heard about the ultradian cycle. Like you go 90 minutes of deep work, and then for I think 20 minutes you do some relaxation protocols or like decompression. The problem is people go like over and over again, working all day, working hard. And for like pro athletes, you go to practice. After practice, some athletes go straight to interviews, media interviews, and they go straight to games. After games, they go out parties.
Right. What's
So
the
like
name of it?
ultradian cycles.
Trading
So
cycles.
you've heard about circadian rhythms, right?
Yep.
That's like the 24-hour clock of our bodies, right?
Right.
Ultradian cycles is like the work rest ratio, given a 24-hour clock. So like they say that 90 minutes you go for a deep work, like no distractions at all, just focusing on one particular task.
Right.
And then after that 90-minute period ends, you just basically end that task and just go for like a deep decompression state.
Right.
So that way you're kind of oscillating between the stress and relaxation.
Okay.
So because a lot of times a lot of people are just operating in that gray zone. They're not really working. They're there. They are working but not to that optimal level. So you want to be on that level wherein you're working, where in your case if you're an athlete, you go to practice, you're all in, you're focused on the task at hand. But at the same time, after practice, you're also able to sit, lay down on the floor, whatever the case may be, and just relax. So that there's a super compensation happening right after it. You get better when the day comes that you're ready, you're prepared to play a game, and that's where I'm coming from. So you're not operating in that gray zone. Gray zone meaning you're not you're not resting, you're not working, but you're just there.
Right. Right. You're not
Yeah.
maximizing the time.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like that's where I've kind of been. Um, that's where I've been more this conference than probably many years prior, um, unknowingly. Like just going to practice, like I'm locked in on practice. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care how I really feel internally or if I'm going through some stuff outside the
Mm-hmm.
court. It is what it is. Started training with that mentality and then really resting hard when I get home,
Right.
right, for a bit. But yeah, okay, so that's 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make sure I tell Coach Jolas or Coach Chot, after 90 minutes, I'm going to lay down, man. It's like Denzel said, I need to lay down for 90. Nah, but that's good. That's really good. So as far as the relaxations part, like what is it really like just shutting it down or just not being in work
Sometimes I just
mode?
close my eyes. Just simple as that.
Yeah.
Close your eyes so that you don't get any inputs around your vision, right? Or sometimes like yeah, go for a walk. Sometimes it's just listening to like non-sleep deep rest audio recordings on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure if you've heard of that.
Are you a binaural beat guy?
Sometimes
Sometimes, yeah.
NSDRs or yoga nidras. They're basically the same.
Right.
But I love using those, especially during the day where like after taking my lunch. So before sometimes I won't take naps. I would rather use NSDRs as a way to like recharge myself because sometimes I when I take naps there's this feeling of like I wanna like just lay down forever like
Yeah.
so NSDRs they're basic you're awake basically you're just listening to it but there's some research that shows it's a much more effective way to get out of the hump like basically you are it's much more powerful than a 20-minute nap
Oh, wow.
so yeah
What's NSDR stand for the people who
yeah
might not know, like myself?
NSDR stands for non-sleep deep rest.
Non-sleep
Yeah,
deep
it's
rest.
different than meditation or mindfulness. So there are a bunch of recordings on YouTube totally for free. You can just type in non-sleep deep rest or yoga nidra.
Okay. I've heard of yoga
Yeah.
nidra. Yeah.
So you just lay down on the floor, just listen with your headphones and just fully participate in the recording. See what's being said. It's like you're having a out of the body experience, like from head to toe. You're going. So the most common way of recordings of NSDR is they try to visualize your body from a third eye perspective. Yeah,
Oh,
so you can try that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a yoga guy?
Before,
Not so much
not
anymore.
so much
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah. So during my off days, I would do some yoga, just light yoga, not really those very I would say
Intense ones.
intense
Yeah.
poses. I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
same.
can't do that.
I do like a I do like a 10-minute one
Mm-hmm.
and that's good for me. Like I try to do it in the morning and evenings, but um it's helped.
Yeah.
It's helped just to kind of be I mean, I'm 41, man. Like
Yeah.
I need to like warm up before our warm ups. You know
Speaking
what
of
I mean?
decompression, Kel, I saw you posting that upside you hang on the squat rack, right?
Yeah,
Using
that
a
inverted hang.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How's it like?
It's for me, it's terrifying, but it's super. It's super. Like I love it
Okay.
because, and then sometimes I would hold a plate. To have my assistant Dex. Every time I do it, I'm like, hey, can you come up to the gym to watch me just in case? I don't know, something happens. Luckily, knock on wood, nothing's ever happened, but I love it. I really literally feel a decompression of my spine.
Yeah.
So anytime I feel anything, because I've had a lot of back problems over
Mm-hmm.
the years, and by the grace of God, I've escaped surgery, which has
Mm-hmm.
been suggested to me by doctors over the years, just for background purposes. Like I have 4 black discs in my back for the past 6 years, maybe or
Wow.
more. So that can get painful. So a lot of my stuff is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
decompression, a lot of elongating.
Yeah.
It's another reason why this year for me, I've started to be more mindful of getting into yoga and stretching and
Right.
stuff like that. But that thing, those, that was probably one of the best, most scary things that I've invested in. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
really glad I did it because every time I do it, there's immediate relief.
Really?
Yeah,
You do it every day?
not every day.
Not every day.
Maybe I'll say once or twice a week, probably.
Okay.
I'm up there 3 to 4 times a week, and then
How long do you stay up there?
hanging.
Yeah.
I try to do like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and then I'm one of those guys that I Google everything,
Yeah.
or I'll search everything to see like one of my first Google searches when I invested in this thing was like, can I die from inversion? And apparently you can, like after a certain amount of time. So I'm like, gosh, all right.
Really? How?
Well, it's just different things, and people probably will correct me, but I've seen that if the blood rushes too fast and
Oh.
it sits for too long, or
Okay.
it's all sorts of things, and everything gives you cancer, and you can die from everything apparently. So you got to be careful anyway. But but that thing in particular, yeah, it yeah, it makes me think. But that's not what terrifies me. It's
Yeah.
like it's obviously just being
Right.
upright, right? And then you start to feel the sensations, and then that's when the searches start to play in
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
mind, right? But for now, the benefits outweigh the terror.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never tried it?
Never. But I
Yeah.
can only imagine the relief
Yeah.
that you feel because in yoga, I believe they sometimes advocate going upside down because you tend to decompress your spine better that way. So and I think the beginner level is like having your legs um like perpendicular or parallel to the wall, and just lay down on the floor like a L shape,
Yep.
you know. So way to before bed. That's I always do that. Like you lay down on the floor, then you have both legs
Up against the
up.
wall.
Yeah,
I get you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then just yeah.
Huh. Downward dog kind of gives you that kind of elongation, right? I'm
Yes.
not. I'm.
Mm-hmm,
I'm.
mm-hmm.
I'm so not like. I'm not a yoga guy at all. I just do what I'm told on
Yeah,
the on
yeah,
YouTube, right?
yeah.
Try it out. You should try it.
Mm-hmm.
You should try it here
Yeah.
today. We'll go up. Yeah, man. That's all. That's like there's just so many things, and it's the same way, just like with physical stuff,
Mm-hmm.
as it is with mental, emotional, psychological stuff. That you got to have tools,
Yeah.
right? Just like with the psychoanalytic, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the internal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The physical stuff is just as important. And like I was gonna post to be silly, a video of all the contraptions and
Mm-hmm.
things that I've bought over the years to help with different parts of my body. Because one day I was just looking at my closet and I'm like, well, 90% of this stuff I still actually use. But
Yeah.
it's almost comical, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to have tools.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it's just as important to have the tools for the internal
Mm-hmm.
stuff as it is
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
physical stuff. And that's
Yeah.
the point I was trying to make.
But the thing with tools, right? 'Cause we can't be totally dependent on them, right?
Mm,
Down the line, we might have different perspective about it. It might not work a few years from now. So the thing with that is, yeah, tools can work, but at the same time, we can't be totally dependent on them, and just be very open-minded and curious about other things that can possibly work.
yeah,
Because
yeah, no, I agree.
yeah,
When I say tools, I'm thinking of like the major ones for me: meditation,
right.
journaling,
Journaling.
keeping a gratitude journal, and a spill journal of just thoughts and stuff that's going on
Mm-hmm.
inside. The breathing thing
Mm-hmm.
now, being conscious of it. Though it's not something that I do throughout the
Religiously, yeah,
day,
yeah.
yeah. But it's something that I know I want to keep. It's almost like sustenance.
Right.
Like you got to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
me, I know those things have been so beneficial with not only my growth but my sanity
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to balance. But I do agree that in any case, if there's anything that would cause you to feel like without this thing I can't survive, or
Right.
without this thing I'll
Mm-hmm.
fall apart, then there's some issue there.
Right.
Because like you said, the point of it really with the tools, with whether physical or inner or internal, is to grow, is to grow you. And like you said, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot, like I said, 90% of the tools that I have up there for physical stuff I use. 100% of it I've used. Half of it probably has just been sitting there for years, right? But knowing I have it is like,
Yeah.
even the knowing you have
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is kind of helpful, right?
Exactly.
It's like having a spotter at the
Mm-hmm.
gym.
Mm-hmm.
I always lift more when I have a spotter. I work out by myself, but anytime I know someone's there, I have a little bit more confidence, even if
Right.
they don't have to touch the
Yeah,
bar
yeah.
or the
Yeah.
dumbbells, right? So all those things play a part, man. All those things play a part, and it's important.
Would you say social support also plays a big role?
I think so. And that's something I'm
Yeah.
also like trying to learn. I'm starting to learn for myself as
Mm-hmm.
well, because I've been a loner most of my life,
Yeah.
right?
That's kind of a hard to like find a balance, because I kind of feel the same way. Whenever there are issues that I'm dealing with, I tend to flight. You know, be by yourself, and you know, like explore what's going on in your mind rather than just ranting to other people, right?
Mm.
So I tend to do that, but at the same time, there comes to a point wherein you would need other people to like, you know, get support from.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the lesson I'm learning now is like the importance of having these people,
Mm-hmm.
importance of having people that you can trust,
Trust, yeah.
right? I have always had the support of my sister who's in Detroit, my best friend who's in Michigan, my
Mm-hmm.
mom who's also in Michigan. Like I, undying. But over the years, I've just, I, I would rarely reach out when I'm going through stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even though I know anything I bring up, they would be there for
Yeah.
me. And for some reason or another, I grew up with this idea. I don't know if you call it toxic masculinity
Mm-hmm.
or just social constructs for what a man is supposed to be or whatever. But
Yeah.
I always had this thought of like I'm supposed to handle it by myself, and reaching out to people is a sign of weakness, right?
Yeah.
So and I have great friends here in Manila as well, and with with the internet and social media, you
Yeah.
can connect with pretty much everyone that
Everyone.
you want
Yeah.
in the world. It's with the right intention, it can work out for you. So like I said, I'm learning that these people are in place, and it doesn't have to be so difficult.
Hmm.
Like life doesn't have to be so difficult. These If they love you and you trust them,
Hmm.
and it is what it is, then reach out. And also understanding, the big lesson for me is understanding that it's not as much of a burden on them as I,
Yeah.
lead myself to
Now I
believe.
remember a post
Hmm.
you shared on Facebook. You were asking, would you rather love and get hurt or not love at all?
Hmm. Yeah,
Now that's a difficult question.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Because yeah, I think for me that's been the story. That's been the story of my life. Like,
Hmm.
do you do you risk being hurt? And
Yeah.
that's not just in like love relationship,
Right.
romantic relationships. It's in family. It's in
Yep.
friends,
Hmm.
and friendship. Do you risk that in hopes that you benefit from the grand, greater,
Right.
value of
Yeah.
what those things are, or do you
Just hide, do
exactly
nothing. Yeah.
put yourself under a rock and
Mm.
shell up like I've done most of my life? And like I said, 41. I'm
Hmm.
41 years old now, and I'm only learning in the last couple of years how much I've missed out on the great people that are
Right.
around me,
Hmm.
including like family and friends and people who love me, even my teammates. Right. So it's definitely a benefit when you can look around and say there are people that love you. There are some
Yeah.
people who really only have themselves,
Yeah.
and that's okay too. And there's a way to you know to work around and grow and love life and love
Hmm.
yourself through that as well. But if you're fortunate enough, like myself,
Yeah.
to be able to say you got a few people around you who you can go to,
Yeah.
fucking utilize it,
Yeah.
because it just makes life
Hmm.
better,
Yeah.
quality of life better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's funny that you brought up toxic masculinity. But to be honest, I don't really like labeling these kinds of terms.
Hmm.
But do you honestly feel that us men, especially in our times today, we need more support amongst men? Like, because sometimes I think, and that's exactly what you brought up earlier. A lot of us men, we tend to put these masks just to portray someone else that we're not really. But what I tend to realize over the last few years is the importance of having brotherhood and just not talk about sports or like any other social issues, but like being vulnerable and just talking about what's inside of you amongst towards other men. Do
Yeah.
you think that's something that's should be talked about more often?
I definitely think that vulnerability is the key to any genuine, authentic friendship and
Mm-hmm.
connection.
Right.
Man, woman,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So yes, I think it's important that it's obviously it's different for everyone. Some guys don't want that. Some guys
Mm-hmm.
don't even want to be vulnerable. Some guys don't want to talk about anything outside of sports and
Mm-hmm.
hitting stuff and lifting weights. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there was a point in my life where I was the same way,
Yeah.
and I just didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So once my mind started to expand into mindfulness and all these other things, I've always been an emotional guy, but I've always also kept it in
Yeah.
for different reasons. I also don't like labeling behaviors and traits as well. I just know what's kind of floating around nowadays with social constructs and
Mm-hmm.
what's in the media. But I think it's definitely important to get with like-minded people. And you know what? I'm traditional in the sense that even though I've never hunted, I
Mm-hmm.
do feel drawn to that like I remember I've spent hours watching
Me too.
hunting and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Looking up bow and arrows and different types of guns and firearms. Like that stuff excites me, and maybe that's just what's in us
Yeah.
as men. Like from that perspective, there's certain things, you know, over in my history of like romantic relationships. There's never been a time where there's I've always been the more like physical, let's go do stuff, and not even go do stuff, but like I want to do the sports. I want to go to the gym. I
Yeah.
want to, that clang and bang and stuff like, and the my girlfriend or whoever at the time is like, well, I just want to kind of like
Chill.
cuddle and like do the soft stuff, and I get that as well, and everybody's again different. It's
Different.
not to
Yeah.
put anybody
Yeah.
in, but I understand that we were just made a certain way, and I'm just trying to embrace that within myself. So one thing that I think we're taught is to not be, almost not be who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because of all these roles that we're told to play, and with all this stuff that's being thrown out nowadays as far as toxic
Mm-hmm.
masculinity or anything like that. So now in this past year or so or more, just focusing on, hey, accepting the fact that, yeah, I have masculine
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Right.
I can embrace that,
Just acknowledging that, right?
acknowledging it.
Yeah.
But then the key to that also is accepting it from a real place, not
Right.
accepting it like, okay, now that I'm embracing it, I'm supposed to be anything
Mm-hmm.
like this is how they say we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it should be. No, it's like, what's real to me? What do
Right.
I feel?
Right.
How does it line up to who I aspire to
Yep.
be?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I try to pay attention to. And if there's guys that are on that, like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like that, those are the people I want to connect with,
Mm-hmm.
right? And from a principle standpoint, I've also connected with a lot of amazing women who not only are into certain things like hunting or firing, going firearms and loving going to
Yeah.
gym and like, but also just the principle of being themselves,
Right.
right? And I think that for me is the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's even less about having the brotherhood or having other men around, other like-minded men, which
Mm-hmm.
I do think is important. For me, the bigger step and the bigger umbrella is having people around who are not afraid to be themselves, who are
Right.
not afraid to speak their mind, who are not afraid to indulge themselves in the inner work and all of that.
True.
Yeah,
True. 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. When's the last time you went to the beach?
To the beach. Good question.
That's
2 years ago.
2 years.
But I tend to gravitate towards going hiking on top of a mountain than going to beach
Oh, okay.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hike. I've never hiked
Oh,
before.
really?
Nah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind. I like mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I like looking at them. I like painting them.
Uh,
But never like hiked one before. So you prefer hiking over
hiking, going to the beach.
going
Yeah.
to the beach?
Yeah.
What does it do for you? When's the last time you hiked?
A year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
November of 2022. Sorry, 2020. Yeah, 2022.
Oh, so
Yeah,
less
yeah,
than a year.
yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you try to go?
Just maybe in a year, 2 to 3 times. Yeah.
Where?
Here in there are plenty of mountains you can try hiking to. In Rizal.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
Yeah, just maybe an hour or two drive away from here, you can reach those places
Okay.
immediately. Yeah.
My instinct is to ask if you've seen any snakes, because I used to be terrified of them, but I'm not afraid of them
Oh,
anymore.
snakes? No,
But have you?
I haven't.
No.
I haven't.
That's always what's deterred me from
Hiking.
hiking. Yeah, because I have friends who like hike in Utah and Arizona and stuff in the states, and they're
Okay.
like, "Oh yeah, you'll run into some snakes." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, well, I'll never hike." Yeah. What's the crazy? Like, is there any crazy stuff? Because I don't know. I'm not a
I
nature
think the
guy.
most memorable hike I did was to Mount Pulag. It's like I think that's the highest peak in Luzon, third highest in the country, if I'm not mistaken. So it's Mount Pulag. It's one of the most famous hiking places in Baguio. So that time I decided to go on my own. So it was somehow terrifying for me because I'm not used to whenever I go hiking, I tend to invite a friend or my partner with me. But at during this time, I didn't have my girlfriend with me. So I decided to go on my own just to like this was December of 2019. So I wanted to cap off the year on a good note, like just go somewhere else, somewhere far, somewhere that's not within the city. And I went by myself with a group, of course, with a local guide, but I was just by myself. And then in the middle of a hike, like there was this time wherein my co-hikers were going to different places and I was by myself. And it was around maybe this was 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. The wind was very, very strong. And I could feel my body just swaying around because of the wind. It was trying to push me. At the moment, I felt scared and anxious because I didn't know where I was at that moment. I was in the middle of nowhere. All I could see was the fog, the grassland. That was basically it. So
Oh,
the local guide at that time wasn't there. So I felt like, am I lost or whatever? But gladly, fortunately, I found them. But the number one thing that I could remember during that um, exploration was the journey. It was hard because that was the first time I had like the backpack. I'm not so sure what it's called, but like it's a full gear hiking backpack. So I had like I also had the tent with me. I
oh
also
wow.
had like I'm not so sure what it's called. Like you you use them to guide you when you walk, especially when you're on a downward slope,
Oh,
so you
right.
don't
Like the
get
walking
slippery.
stick
Yeah, the
type
walker
thing.
stick. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the backpack was very very I would say heavy. So there was a time wherein I had cramps. So I had this 1 liter of Pocari sweat
There you
because
go.
I was cramping.
Wow.
My knee was hurting also. So it was a journey. I would say it was a learning lesson, but I really enjoyed it because when I conquered the hike and I finally made it to the top. It was like the greatest feeling that I've ever had because there was this sense of like not relief but sense of looking forward.
Accomplishment.
Yeah, accomplishment and like I can do this, like because remember what I said. When I decided to go on my own, I was a bit terrified. But when I reached the top of the mountain, the peak of the Mount Pulag, I felt like, hey, even if it's difficult, if it even if it's a hard of a challenge, I definitely can tell to myself that I can do it on my own. So, yeah, I learned a lot about myself, even though it's just a hike for some people. But it's a 2 day hike, so we stayed for one night, um, using our own tents.
Wow.
So we had to like bring our own tents. You had to like nail it to the ground. You had to cook your own food. So things of
Whoa.
that nature, right? So it's pretty cool because I tend to gravitate towards that kind of vibe. I don't like um, I don't like luxury types of hikes or like glamping. I like very natural. Like you get to know. There was even a time during the hike wherein we met some locals, like the like those igorots or whatever they call it. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Yeah,
Living in like they
yeah,
live in the
yeah,
mountains. Wow.
yeah. So
And
you get to see a different life
wow.
there. Yeah.
And I imagine like a appreciation for your daily life,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 2 days.
2 days, 1 night. Yeah.
Do you have to catch your own food or do you bring stuff?
I brought some trail mix with me.
You didn't cook.
I did just a rice meal at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you brought it. You didn't have to catch it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, man. I actually would like to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I camped once when I was younger, but it wasn't great. I dropped this kid's Game Boy into the pond and we were lost in the woods and all we had was his Game Boy and I dropped it
Yeah.
in the water. And he hated me ever since.
The only realization I had right now about that hike was I could have trained for it because like I was suffering from back pain, knee pain after the hike. So
Wow.
if I were to advise people, that's something that you have to prepare for. I respect those hikers who are like just jumping here and there. I had a group mate that time who finished the hike in just a matter of hours because he was basically running, like
Whoa.
trail running. Man, those people are
I-
nuts.
Is that enjoyable, you think?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Unless
know.
you're going for that purpose, I guess
Yeah,
it is. But I imagine,
that's
like,
tough.
yeah, like my idea of hiking, I know that what I would appreciate most are the views.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like getting to the apex or what.
Mm-hmm.
Would, I mean, you said you felt a sense of accomplishment. I imagine for myself to be
Mm-hmm.
relief, like,
Yeah.
fuck, this is over.
Yeah.
But then you have to descend also too,
Yeah.
right?
And the descent part was also tough.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you have to be very careful with the mud because it was raining that time, raining hard.
Oh
So
wow.
I was drenched by you know by the rain, and we have to be very very mindful of our steps going down because just one mistake, and you
You're
know,
tumbling, right?
yeah,
Jeez, man. But that was the one that you were afraid of
yeah,
because you didn't go with your partner or your
yeah.
girlfriend, right?
I was on my own. Yeah.
That's where the
Mm-hmm.
accomplishment feeling comes from, right?
Yeah.
That would be cool to go
Yeah.
and but then you have to hunt your food.
Yeah. That's the amazing part of it.
Yeah.
You get to like just get out of your normal routine. You know,
Yeah.
something that's not comfortable. So that's what I'm looking after during that time. I want to be able to step out of my comfort zone.
Right.
Yeah. I want to get a taste of discomfort.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's important.
Yeah.
I was watching something recently and it just really harped on that idea of like as humans, as much as on average most of us want to try to avoid hardship or difficult things, but or work towards this lifestyle where everything is easy, you don't have to work, you don't have to
Right.
do anything, right? Like as if that's the goal. And I've been guilty of it myself, but then realizing like I was just on break. So we won the championship, I think April, May, something around that
Mm-hmm.
this year. I had the longest break from basketball that I've had probably aside from the two times that I retired. I've had the longest break from basketball since maybe like Santa Lucia days.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's 4 or 5. I don't know how many months it's been. And about 3 weeks into the break, I was like, I'm bored out of my mind. Like, what is wrong? Why do I feel I should be happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I go to practice, I'm like, I can't wait till we have a break.
Yeah.
And now that I have the break, we took a few weeks off. I'm like, I need to be doing something. The routine's gone, and we're made as humans to work, to conquer, to
Right. Mm-hmm.
and so now I'm learning and understanding what they say, what they mean when they say to enjoy the journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because more often than not, pretty much in every time I've won an award or finished something, won a championship even, it's like, it's great
Yeah.
for about 20 minutes. And then it's like, what next?
Yeah.
So that's great that you're able to tune into that for yourself and like do the hard things.
Yeah.
Because even when they're difficult, even when they suck, it's like you're gaining so much from it as a human for our psyche, for our mental health, for our well-being in general.
Right.
I did do a couple hikes, not mountain hikes. I did like flat terrain.
Okay.
You probably did it. It's the
Yeah. Where was this? Masungi?
nope. Oh wait, it was sort of a reserve. It was in QC. It's in QC. Something
La Mesa?
La Mesa.
Okay,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
did that a couple times. Uh, once with just both times with good friends, and even that for me was like it was tiring, but then it was also like fulfilling and a sense of accomplishment. Like wow, and then the views.
You have to check out forest bathing.
Forest bathing.
Have you heard about that?
Is that
There's this
that's a
guy
thing?
here. Yeah, there's this
Okay.
guy here. You can search on Instagram. Forest bathing PH.
How you spell it?
Forest, as in forest.
Like a forest.
Yeah, and then
Forest
bathing.
bathing.
Yeah, PH. So
Can you look that up, Kurt? Forest bathing.
yeah, so it's gaining popularity right now. So they have, I think, tours every weekend. In Rizal, so the group goes to like a river or a forest, for that matter. They go for a 2-hour journey tour. Sometimes you would just lay down on rocks with a waterfall, and then there's a guided meditation.
Right.
So that's perfect. I haven't tried that
So
one
it's a-
out.
it's
I
a
haven't tried that
full-on-
one. Yeah.
So it's a whole like planned out
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
When did that start? Wow.
Just
that
recently, I
sounds
think.
great.
Yeah.
What is it?
The facilitator is actually a doctor.
Okay.
Not so sure what he specializes on, but he's the founder of this forest bathing.
Forest bathing.
Yeah, it's very accessible. I think it's an hour drive from here, but I haven't joined, but looking forward to join sometime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have, together we can join together.
Yeah, that sounds great.
yeah.
So I would imagine that you can go in groups or you can go
Yeah.
as an individual.
I think they go as a group. Yeah.
Forest bathing. Well, it's a thing for sure.
Yep.
Oh, it's a global thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
But there's a guy that does it here.
yeah.
Check Forest Bathing Philippines. Is that the isn't that says Camp John Hay?
Oh no, that's not
a
the
different
one.
one. Do
Maybe.
Forest Bathing Philippines Instagram.
Yeah.
Let's see if they have a page. Can't?
So it's forest bathing MNL, not PH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll check it out
Yeah.
later and see what happens. But yeah, no, that's a cool thing, man.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, so what does he do? Like, what kind of doctor is he? What made him even?
I'm not so sure, but yeah, from what I've heard, during this forest bathing tour, like you go on a walk and then there's this guided meditation while you're walking in the forest.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a different, I would say, feeling as compared to just going for a normal hike, because this one, it's really tailored fit for those people who want to relax, and at the same time go out on nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really intentional.
Yep.
Yeah. So like last year, I asked about the beach thing because I love the beach, and it's less about because I don't even know how to swim, by the way. So it's not about being in the water. It's just about connecting with
Right.
the elements,
Mhm.
and about chilling too, because I just want to just not do anything. I do so much with my body. I'm like, I don't even want to, whatever. So this past year, I've done a lot of solo trips, and
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
yeah, I was doing a lot of like solo beach trips and little road trips, and for the very intentional purpose of treating myself as the love of my life,
Mm.
right? Almost, I would say indirectly, but kind of intentionally for the sake of attracting the kind of partner that I envision
Yeah.
for
Right.
my life,
Right.
right? It's like I realized at some point, I was like, why am I waiting to do all these things? I'm waiting because I want to do it with someone that's the love of my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why can't I just do that for myself?
Right.
And then that started the whole journey of really intentionally learning how to love myself
Yeah.
the right way, right? But also, and going back to that whole intention, one of the things that I really love to do when I'm at the beach is get in the water, whether it's sunrise, definitely during sunset,
Mm-hmm.
and have these sunset meditations, which is for the sake of like activating all the senses and just really being in meditation. And well, my meditation usually is just being as just clear minded, no thoughts
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible. Excuse me. As much as possible, just detaching from thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
but then also in that grounding sort of meditation is gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'd really be interested in doing the forest bathing and seeing what kind of like how
Yeah.
he integrates the meditation while walking and all of that stuff. It's really
I
interesting.
wanted to ask you, what did you learn the most about your solo trips? Yeah.
Um,
About
well,
yourself.
well yeah. First, I think the biggest one of the big things is the results that I was looking for or waiting for. I could have accomplished by myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, I was like I said, I was waiting for the right person to step out and take time and go out of
Mm-hmm.
my way and go out of my the mundane
Mm-hmm.
and routine to. And I was like, wow, I could have been doing this
Mm-hmm.
this whole time, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big one. As far as the self love thing, I think the lesson in itself of treating myself as the love of my life was a huge deal for me because no one taught me how
Mm-hmm.
to love. I think most people aren't taught how to
Yeah.
love themselves
Exactly.
properly, at least. So getting to know myself, getting to know part of that whole journey of learning or loving myself as the love of my life, understanding my likes and dislikes and stuff like that in
Mm-hmm.
trips. What do I need when I'm on the road? What do I need when I'm out and about? What makes me feel comfortable? What do I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
about these things? And then really starting to sift through and prune and add. And it almost became like a game to me to see how enjoy, like, how much more could I enjoy these
Right.
things? And each one got better and
Mm-hmm.
better. So yeah, it. I want to say it indirectly, but it's probably very directly taught me how to even better take care of myself,
Uh-huh.
how to even better respect my body, respect my mind,
Mm-hmm.
like all these like branches of these roots that I started to
Mm-hmm.
that started to grow. It's been and continues to be amazing. Everything starts with self, and I think that's the main thing. It's like whatever you want in this life, wo- especially when it comes to partners
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And this is another thing that no one ever taught me or told me. It's like what you want, what you desire, what you envision, you have to become for yourself,
Right.
right? I remember hearing, well, I think it was Eric Thomas. I listen to a lot of motivational
Mm-hmm.
speakers. I love it. I love listening to those things. Steve Harvey, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, just all the greats. Mel Robbins. But I think it was Eric Thomas. He said, it might have been Les Brown actually. Anyway, He says, "We don't get in life what we want. We get in life who we are."
Mm.
Right?
Powerful. Yeah.
Super powerful, and that's stuck with me since.
Instead of looking for, you know, some external thing to get you to where you want to be, you shift your focus to yourself and be the person that you'd rather be instead of looking for that for from other people,
Yeah,
basically.
definitely.
Yeah.
Same with my career,
Mm-hmm.
actually, too. Like, one of the biggest blows that my team took was the retirement of our franchise leader, which is
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Alapag, right? And once he left, we were all left looking around like, well, who's going to step up? Like, well, nobody can fill those shoes. And over time, I realized for myself, I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to be Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
I never can be a Jimmy, but I can be myself and I can do what I do best. And then eventually I just started to like settle into that role.
Right.
Like, how can I, with the mentality of like, how can I be what I'm looking for?
Mm.
And that's it's helped me over the years, especially when I came back with that intention of like, well, I know I'm in a role where I'm the veteran. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I'm the at minimum, if I'm the oldest, guys are going to look at me.
Yeah.
I've been in around the league long enough, so it's like, all right, well, now you got to embrace the role. Now you have to understand what's needed. But I think for myself, being able to, what helped me settle into that role was like, okay, I need to become we, what I've been
Mm-hmm.
looking for. What was I missing in not having Jimmy around? Someone with a voice, someone who practices what they preach, someone who is going to give their all. Like now then it turns in, like you said, to the internal.
Mm-hmm.
What do I bring? What are my strengths? You know, it's that whole thing. So it's definitely a life. It's definitely a life lesson. Becoming what you want,
Right.
what you desire. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, I've kept you for like well over over an hour now, dude. It's supposed to be an hour. Um, but yeah, no, it's like I feel like we have a lot of stuff that we want to start to like
Yeah.
discuss and collab with, and we'll discuss
Yeah.
all of that. But as far as this goes, I appreciate your time,
No
man. I
problem.
appreciate
Yeah.
you coming through. I love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I was on your page recently before we head off. I was on your page recently. I saw that you're like revamping.
Yeah.
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 Um,
So yeah, that's the thing with teaching breathing and health, because I personally believe that we need to have a to basically shift the way we look at health in general. Um, and that's the thing I struggle with ever since, because I'm trying to find my own voice with regards to teaching um, health and fitness, because the way I see a lot of people do it is just not my vibes anymore. So that's where I'm struggling with right now. But yeah, trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. Because to be honest, teaching breathing is not easy. Um, like what I've been harping on earlier was teaching breath work takes a lot of internal um, investigation or exploration. It's not just all about prescribing breathing protocols to people. Um, it takes a lot of, I would say, personal reflection, change, self awareness, which I think a lot of people don't have the time and effort to invest in it. They just want immediate change right on the get go. So yeah, I'm still figuring it out how to like, you know, find that balance of what I want to teach, but at the same time, uh, being received by people in a way that we get both sides of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I will say this, man. Like, one of the things that I think makes me gravitate has made me gravitate towards you over the years is the fact that you're authentic, you're real,
Hmm.
you really like from your content it shows that you really care not only about what you do
Mm.
but about teaching it to people in the right way and to
Yeah.
really help.
Same.
And that's what I appreciate the most about just watching your journey. It's yeah, over the years, seeing your growth is inspiring,
Mm.
and that's really why I wanted you to, wanted to be able to have
Yeah.
this. What's coming up for you right now?
Right now, so to be very honest, I'm focusing on I'm actually with my family business, but at the same time, like what I've been mentioning earlier, trying to revamp my coaching package and my coaching offers to people. And yeah, I'm getting married next year. So
Whoa!
hopefully,
Congrats,
yeah,
man.
yeah. We haven't talked about my partner, but I would say it's probably the greatest gift that that I've received so far in my life.
I love that.
Um, there's a lot of things that I want to talk about regarding relationship that I've learned throughout the 3 years that we're together. But yeah, that's one thing that I would say is that sh- having that support from her is a big thing. With no judgments at all, just embracing for who I am, and at the same time, just enjoying our growth together. We're not perfect individuals, but we respect where we came from, and honoring that side. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, the family business, and at the same time, trying to relaunch my coaching.
you go,
Yeah,
man. That
helping out Coach Shot, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, fuck, man. That's that. Well, first of all, congrats on
Hmm.
that, man.
Thank
That's
you.
that's a journey in
Hmm.
itself, and I think that's a episode in
Yeah.
itself. But yeah, like you said, that acceptance,
Yeah.
that that honoring of each
Hmm.
other, that's such a
Yeah.
huge thing.
And I'm not afraid to say this on a podcast, but
Mm,
we only met online,
yeah,
so on Bumble. So that in and of itself is already a blessing. Some people might consider that as an accident, but for me, it's a blessing.
yeah,
So not all people get to experience that, but for me, yeah, I need to remind myself each and every day that I'm grateful that I have someone like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I'm not a Bumble guy.
yeah,
That's a whole silly story in itself. But I don't think that should be downplayed anymore. I think before there was more of a we talk about dating sites. It was
mm-hmm.
more of a like, ooh,
Hookups, yeah,
yeah. And, you nowadays you still say Tinder. It still has a little
yeah,
bit of a,
yeah,
but I always felt like Bumble was a little bit more classy and
right.
whatever. That's not a Bumble plug, by the way. It's just like we might even cut this shit. But yeah, man, that's a beautiful thing, and I think it's especially
Mm.
when because obviously there's always hit and miss.
Yeah,
No matter what,
for
you can
sure,
meet
for
in
sure.
person, whatever. Like
Yeah,
it's just another tool.
yeah,
But when when you know and you're able to relate to someone to the point where like
mm-hmm.
you're being like that's goals for
Yeah.
me. Like I'm even more inspired by you now. But I'm proud of you. I'm
Mm.
grateful to hear your story.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing with that.
But hey, before we end, Kill, let me just express my sincere gratitude for you. I believe we share a lot of common things together. The fact that we value same things. Um, I've known you since Santa Lucia days, but not on a personal level. But it's only through these past years that only I get to know you deeper. And I'd like to say that you're one of those people that I feel comfortable with sharing, being vulnerable, because we share the same values. And so I like just being with you, talking with you. It gives me a lot of learnings, gives me a renewed sense of energy, because there are people that you get across, but like after talking with them you get drained, but talking with you there's this rejuvenation going on after we
Man.
convert. So thank you for that. I appreciate your friendship, our connection, and I salute you and respect for who you are as a person after everything that you've been through. Like, I can honestly tell you that I respect you for who you are.
Oh man, I appreciate that, Denzel.
Hmm.
Man, that's probably one of my favorite compliments here and that. Rejuvenated. I
Yeah,
always felt like the Debbie Downer, but no,
yeah,
man, I appreciate that, dude. I
yeah.
appreciate you. Real quick, how could people where can they find you?
So I'm active on Instagram at Denzel Dion So. So
Okay.
Denzel, and then my second name is Dion, Dion.
Mm,
My last name is So. Yeah, you can contact me or reach out to me through Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, let's do this again sometime
of
soon.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get in touch. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, bro.
See you, man.
Yeah.